Okay, sticking with stats then, because me and Trotty both use a program where we can track all those stats and spits out all the numbers that we know. So you were just talking about there about Chris about driver being the weakest. Well, you thought driver was the weakest part of your game. Driver used to be the weakest part of my game. Got fitted properly, I hope, and that's now turned into probably one of my strongest parts of my game. But my approaches have started to really slip in. So just to give you some numbers so you guys know. So last 20 rounds, strokes gained this is, so off the tee, minus 1.75. Not ridiculously bad, but still losing some shots.
Against
Approaches
what?
minus.
Against what? What's your bench?
This is against Scratch Golfer. So I play off 4.3 if you want to be pedantic, but 4 is my number. So approaches, I'm losing 4.16 shots. Around the greens, I'm losing 1.36, but putting, I'm only losing 0.45. So my driver used to be the weakest part. I think I was losing. I used to lose like 5, 6, 7 shots off the tee, and my approaches used to be really good. Now my approaches are flipped around, and my driver's really good, and my approach is really bad. So a question I was going to put to Trotty was, how can you sort of use stats to understand if the problems you're having are club related, swing related, or up here related? I don't know. Obviously, you're a big stat man, Trotty, so it would be a good question to ask.
So first off, out the gate, if you're now hitting more fairways, that's awesome because you can score from there. So clearly, whatever work you've done with the driver has improved, and then getting back to that random practice or however Bubsy defined that, you're improving off the peg. Perfect. So what I would look at in your stats to deep dive is I would look at your missed tendencies. So depending on how good the data is you're keeping, I would first off find out what your current spec of golf clubs is. Is it way off the mark as to what the sort of the average of what folks use is? And now I know your build. I've met you. I see how tall you are. So I'd get a general idea of basic specification just from looking at you. Then you've got a history of playing sport in football, soccer. You've already explained that. So there's some athletic ability. Great. You're passionate about the game. Great. So some of the outliers that you can put down, you're going to have a good base layer because you play off 4. So I'm like, okay, he's hitting more fairways. We have to look at missed tendency. In an ideal world, the next question I'd have, which I know you have, is what is your path? What is your face? And even this never leaves you, by the way. Like I played golf, and mentioned it before. Last time I played golf with Chris Ryan, I played horrendous. And it was, okay, well, what's your face and your path tendency? Because once you have that, then you can work on it. And it's actually good to have the face and the path consistently one way, because then you have a shot shape you can work on. I always had that. But the only reason I'm now drifting and not hitting it particularly good is because I've tried to change the tendency in a desire for it to look prettier and play better. But let's keep it on where you're at. So we're hitting more fairways. I'd first look at missed tendency. Having seen you hit a few shots, it's probably left, and it's probably face is more square to the path than what it has been. So you've got rid of some shape. Plus age and flexibility. So that tends to come in a little bit more. You might have been playing a bit more. You play in the UK, so the weather's a bit crappy. So you're trying to keep the ball out the sky. So then anyone trying to flight it down, usually that gets steep, which then can change that start path. So straight away, I'm like, okay, lie angles could be a thing. And then beyond that, the low-lying fruit for anyone who's a coach, and I think listening to this, if your putting is okay, but your short game, you said, has dropped a bit as well, or isn't what it was, short game, if you're a 4 handicap golfer, even on the World Golf Handicap System, which I think is horrendous, but if you're a 4 handicapper, old money, you're like a 5, you should really be aspiring to be a 1. Until you're sort of a 1, I think it's easy to get to a 1 on this World Handicap System. That's all things relative, but with the amount of golf you have the ability to play, easy to get to a 1. And I think that you get there through short game. And I think that approach play can be a bit fickle because you're probably only playing once every, we said you haven't played in the last 3 months, so you're only playing once every now and again. Approach play is always going to be all over the place based on your age, your mobility, stuff you got going on in your life, stress levels, how clear are you, weather conditions. But if you can have your short game mustered, and that's what I grew my game. But when I was at my best, my short game was dynamite. And I think if you listen to anyone who had a good peak in golf in their early 20s, and then you look at them now, why? And your short game is always miles away from where it was. And I think that that would be the first place. And then I'd look at lie angles, getting your miss tendency. But I'd always be reluctant with someone with power, speed, to go more upright. I'd look to go flatter. And the reason for that, and that's lie angle, is because it gives a softer ball flight. And I just think most people miss left more than they miss right that are right-handed golfers because they pull it because their mobility isn't where it needs to be. And they generally don't put the work in with someone like Chris who can monitor your game for you. They don't keep data. They don't use a launch monitor. If you look at the best players in the world, they have checkpoints that they go through every single day. And they appreciate that they wake up one day hitting it or feeling different to the next, and then they play with that tendency. Amateur golfers don't do that. But also, and there was a great podcast today with Michael Owen, a UK British footballer from the 2000s, 90s, 2000s. And we don't try and aim high enough. I'm sitting here telling you that I don't care if you're playing golf once every 4 months. You should still be a 1. I've seen you hit it. You should be a 1. Worst case scenario. And that comes with polishing up the short game. And that comes with just dialing in do you have a wedge chart? Do you know how far you hit a 9 o'clock backswing 52, a 9 o'clock backswing 56? And that's like a clock face. Do you have all those numbers? Save you mountains of golf shots. Mountains.
So I've actually recently started doing that. So yeah, that's now in the sort of yardage book that I use. So that's all in there. And I've started to really dial that in. And the short game has been improving, which has saves me so many times. It's